everyone, welcome back to the Toll Tribe channel. Thanks for stopping by. If you're new here, welcome. I'm Lorient.
And I'm Mike.
And today we're doing a marriage relationship Q&A. I wrote it on my Instagram asking you guys if you had any questions you wanted us to answer in this Q&A, and we got back a bunch of good ones. If you don't follow me on Instagram but you want to kind of participate in like these Q&A things and send in questions and stuff like that, just head over to my Instagram. You can follow me there. My handle is @LorientToll. That's usually where I ask you guys what kind of content you want to see. Like if I have 2 video ideas, I might do a poll on which you're interested in seeing in first, and then I also ask you guys to submit questions for Q&As there. So if you ever want to participate in kind of the content and the videos that we do here, you can do that by following me over there. So normally for these videos, I try to take the questions and organize them in a way that kind of like flows.
But you didn't this time, did you?
I didn't this time.
Okay. So it's gonna be all over the place.
Because I was so busy trying to pack and get here and pack Josiah to go to his grandparents' house. So
we give you a pass.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Mike and I are on our baby moon right now. It's just a little weekend getaway. We left Josiah with Mike's mom for the weekend. And we're here just kind of relaxing, sleeping, hanging out.
More eating.
And while we have some kind of downtime and some privacy in the hotel room, we figured we would film a Q&A for you guys.
Let's do it.
Now that Josiah has gotten older, do you and Mike agree on same or different forms of discipline?
I don't feel like we discipline him anyway, do we?
No, I mean, like,
he
I don't know.
He kind of just rules the house and does whatever.
No, that's not true. We try, but he's at a difficult age where there's definitely things that he does comprehend, and there's obviously a lot that he doesn't comprehend yet. So sometimes you're trying to explain to him that he can't do something or why he can't do something, and you know that he just is just like...
One ear out the other.
Yeah, like...
How do you explain to a baby?
It can get frustrating. I would say that what we've noticed is we each have different, like, levels of patience of dealing with, you know, kind of explaining things and parenting, and so sometimes that causes friction between the two of us, because I'll be like, you have to have more patience, Mike, or like da 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 da, and so that can be difficult. But as far as like how to handle things, so far we've been on the same page with a lot of stuff. How do you deal with the negative personal comparison of your life / marriage to others? I would say I don't personally struggle with comparing my relationship to other people's relationship or our lives to other people's lives. Not in like an overall sense anyway. Like I think that, you know, we're very blessed to have the things that we have, and we're very fortunate. And so when I see other people having things that like maybe I would have liked to have, or like somebody buying a bigger, newer house, and I'm like, oh, I wish we were at that point. But it doesn't make me feel bad or envious of them, because I know that we'll get to that when we're supposed to get to it, kind of thing. Where I do compare our relationship or lives, like sometimes, you know, ladies, when you're watching like a romantic movie and you're like, oh, so romantic, and you just like look at your husband with a side eye and you're like, why can't you set up romantic picnics and surprise me?
Newsflash. That's only in movies.
It doesn't have to be.
But it only
romanticize your life.
Anyone watching, please let us know if your significant
Plenty of other people. Every now and then, I feel like one of us, it's usually me because I'm more of the planner, will kind of go the extra mile to like set something nice up. Like when I did the tent in the backyard, and I had the twinkle lights.
That was very nice.
Okay, so every now and then. We don't do it like a ton. It's not like an every weekend thing.
And then when you did the fort.
But I think that's also what makes it special. Yeah, when I did the fort in the house while you were barbecuing. Yes, so we try. Do you ever feel, like, how do you handle, do you compare our lives or our marriage to other people's?
Not really, because I don't really focus in on it like that. Like I see things, other, like you said, bigger, nicer house, and
other people
I'm like, yeah, that's cool, and then I forget about it 10 minutes later. Like I'm not obsessed with the ideal of trying to be like that person.
What's the best date night y'all have ever had? Ooh, that's a good one.
That we've ever had.
That's a good one. We've been together for 9 years this month, end of this month, and so it's like there's been several dates, but it's like
I feel like Diamond
best.
Beach comes to mind.
I don't think that was our best. I mean, we got engaged then, but I don't know that was our best. I think maybe, and I'm not sure. This is not with certainty. I was gonna say when we were in New York.
That was very fun.
Mike and I did a little staycation in New York City. It was our anniversary, and I don't even remember what anniversary it was. The 3rd?
I don't remember.
I might have been.
Probably
I think it was like our 3rd wedding
Sounds
anniversary. And we decided to get a hotel in Manhattan for the week. We were in Midtown, and Mike picked this really, really beautiful hotel. We stayed at the Dream Midtown. And the whole weekend was like chock full of just like we'd planned things. We even did touristy things like going to the top of the rock, which I had never done.
That was actually really cool.
But there was this one night where we got dressed. Mike looked very handsome in like a suit, and I had on this really, really pretty like velvet jumpsuit, and we went to dinner at SDK, and the restaurant was phenomenal. The food was phenomenal. It was fun. It was like a restaurant / like nightclub. Like there was a DJ, so you were like dancing in your seat. It was such a good time. We had a little bit too much to drink. We kind of laughed and stumbled all the way back to our hotel room, and it was just this, like such a fun day and night. And I would say that might have been like my best.
I gotta agree.
You think that was? You think that was best?
I think so.
What is your best advice for newlyweds?
Best advice for newlyweds.
Best advice for newlyweds. I think like my best advice, and this probably is like overall for everybody in a relationship, not even just newlyweds, but I would say listen to understand, not to respond. Listen to truly understand where they're coming from, because what you're going to realize, especially as a newlywed, everybody was raised differently, right? We were all raised differently by different parents and different homes, and we have different values, and a lot of the times we do things in life the way they were modeled for us in our own home. And so sometimes when you marry somebody and you move in with them, there can be conflict in the way that things get done, because in your house they were always done this way, but in your partner's house they were always done this way. And so there's kind of some conflicting like views there, and so sometimes those issues are going to come to a head and you're going to fight about them, and a lot of it is just kind of miscommunication. And if you really sat down and listened to your partner to understand where they're coming from or what they're saying or why they feel that way, you can resolve a fight way quicker than going back and forth and back and forth. And I'm gonna say, like, we definitely try to practice this even after being married for 5.5 years. Sometimes we're really good at it, sometimes we fail at it. Sometimes, listen, you just want to fight. Sometimes you just want to beef, or like, you might be beefing about a million little things at once, and it just comes to head over like one big thing. And that's why you're not listening to understand, because you're really mad that they forgot to fill up the toilet paper and they threw their laundry next to the hamper, and it's like a million other things. But generally, I think if you listen to understand, that can resolve a lot of things.
Yes, I got one. Not every little thing that ticks you off about your partner needs to be an argument. Yeah. Sometimes you just gotta let certain things go. You can't fight about every little thing that gets under your skin. Yeah. Because if you do that, then you're just gonna resent each other, and you would just be, it might just not even you would just be fighting all the time. What do you argue over the most? I feel like we have our fair share on everything.
I think that for the most part, our goals and things align, but every now and then I feel like we kind of come out of alignment with exactly the order in which we want to do things sometimes, and it usually has to do with things that we have to like allocate money towards. So like, for example, I might be like, okay, when we buy a house, for me the next order of business is I want to either start a new adoption journey or go back to the fertility clinic. And Mike will be like, well, I want to renovate the house. And so both of those things are expensive things. We can't do both at the same time. So it's like, well, which are we going to do first? We know that both of us have this goal of having a larger family, but it's just a matter of what order do we do things. Yeah. Do we put off the renovations until later, and just live with it, or not? And then, so sometimes we kind of battle back and forth over those things, and we each kind of like, just duke it out over like what makes the most sense. Right. But I would say for the most part, we usually align. It's just sometimes the order in which that happens. What is your favorite part about being married?
Having a built-in best friend, someone that I could share my life with, someone that I could share moments with, do things with. I just think being married is great, and I'm happy.
I didn't tell him to say any of that, guys. Like, none of that. That was all him. Sometimes he surprises me with the things he says. It's like his wedding vows.
Yeah.
I still don't think you wrote those, by the way.
I wrote them.
No, yeah, definitely. I agree with that. I think the best part of marriage is, like, you always have a teammate. Like, there really isn't anything that I have to go through alone. And I think something else that's special about, or what I think is special about our relationship, and I'm sure a lot of other people are in kind of the similar situations in their own relationships, is we started dating at I was 21 when we started dating, and you were 21 too, right? No, you were 22. 22. And so, yeah, you were 22.
Turning 23. Right?
Yeah. And so we were very young. We were living with our parents. We hadn't had much life experience. We got engaged young. We got married kind of young. Definitely got married before pretty much all of our kind of peers.
Yes.
At 24 and 25. And so we grew up together. Like, we learned life, and I'm not saying that we know everything about life, but we learned a lot about adulting and that life together.
Yeah.
I didn't know how to buy a house. Like, you didn't know how to buy a house. We figured it out. It was like insurance. Okay, I guess we got to figure that out now. Like, and we did it all together, and that feels special that we learned all of that, like, hand in hand. And it wasn't ever, I mean, it was overwhelming at times, but it was never so scary because, like, I always had my person, like, I always had my teammate to do that with. And big life changes, like, you just always have that person with you. Yeah. And it just makes things better. Have you ever gotten into a huge fight? And how do you handle disagreements?
Have we ever been in a huge fight?
We have gotten into huge fights before.
Of course. I mean, we've been together for how many years in total?
Almost nine. No, 9, basically.
9
We're like
years.
2 weeks away from 9 years.
So, yeah, so of course there's been some very heated moments.
We have.
How did we handle them?
Yeah, and I also want to say both Mike and I have very spicy tempers.
We do. We seem very laid back.
We are very, yeah. We have very, very spicy tempers. Yeah. And it can be, it's a process in itself.
I think we're both hard-headed too.
Yeah, for sure. We're trying to manage, our anger sometimes is like a whole process in itself, because I think we both also realize, like, a fight can escalate very quickly between the two of us just based off of how we react to what the other person is saying. We both have to be very, very conscious of how we're responding to each other. So yes, we've gone into some pretty big disagreements. Could I tell you in retrospect what they were even about? No.
None of them were even that important.
None. Because it more so starts with something small, and then the way we respond to it ends up triggering the other person, and then it just escalates.
What I do love about us, I feel like we get over it very quickly. And then we're like back to
so I guess that kind of goes back to, like, the how do you handle it.
Right.
Honestly, because I know that things can escalate, I try to walk away. Like, we try to kind of, like, pause it. It's just like, okay, this isn't productive with the conversation we're having, so we need to stop. We need to separate. We need to calm down. So, like, I'll go upstairs or something, and he'll stay downstairs. And that time away from each other kind of allows us to think in a more clear headspace, and then we can kind of realize where each of us went wrong. And then you immediately start to feel guilty for saying what you said or handling it the way you handled it. And then, like, before you know it, you're, like, calling them while they're sitting downstairs and being like, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that. And then it's over. So honestly, for us,
and then it's like, what's for dinner?
Yeah, honestly, for us, just taking that time apart to just kind of, like, replay everything that happened and then kind of realize our own parts in it is really what helps us kind of de-escalate things and handle them and get us back to a good place. Plans for baby number 2. Will you adopt? Again, love your beautiful family. Thank you. We love you.
Thank you.
So if you didn't catch our last video, I'm going to link it up top for you guys, but we are actually in our second adoption journey. We are matched with a baby that is due sometime in September. And so we are currently just waiting. We're a hopeful adoptive family again for the second time. Any tips on getting engaged young?
Don't do it. No, I'm joking.
I would just say be
How young? I mean, what's the age?
Well, I was 22.
Yeah, but what if they're like 13?
Don't get engaged at 13.
Yeah, I mean,
as long as you're legal age, this advice applies to you. I would say just be prepared. Not everybody is going to understand your decision to do that. And there may be people that have negative things to say about it. They may even be related to you. They might just, and most of those negative opinions are really just going to be concerned for your well-being and your life. And so just understand that might be coming, and try not to be too upset or disappointed about it. And at the end of the day, follow your heart, follow, what you feel is right and what you want to do. And if that's, getting engaged at 22, then go for it, because we did it and we're all right. What do you think keeps your relationship / marriage strong?
I think quality time, like what we're doing this weekend. I think little weekend trips, going out, having that alone time.
Spending one-on-one time together.
Spending good quality time. I think that's what really builds your relationship or marriage.
Mike's love language, if you know anything about the 5 love languages,
I like food.
Mike's love, it's not a love language. Yeah. Mike's love language is quality time.
Yeah.
So Mike is very much the put your phone down and just be present with me kind of person. And even if you're not really doing anything to him, that's better. Or he loves going out and just experiencing things together. Definitely. So for me, what I think keeps our relationship strong is our general interest and desire to have a strong marriage, honestly. Mm-hmm. I don't really love small talk as an individual. I don't really see a whole lot of point to it.
Don't talk about it.
I love deep, meaningful conversations. So it's not unusual for Mike and I to be at dinner, literally unpacking a childhood story that comes with some kind of trauma. But I feel that bonds us. Telling those stories bonds us. Having these, we call them dream dates, where we sit down and we kind of dream up and plan our goals and what we want our life to look like in the next couple of years. Those kind of deepen our, connection to each other and kind of help us map out where we want to be and get us on the same page. And those things, having things to look forward to, having things that you're building towards, those things for me, along with the quality time that we spend together and all of that, I feel that really keeps us strong, because we know that we're building something here, something that's bigger than us. It's a family. It's the legacy that we want to leave for our children. I feel we're all over the place on that one, but hopefully there was some kind of takeaway. How did you meet? So we met in high school originally.
Well, we didn't meet in high school.
We met
we walked. I've seen
you started messaging me on MySpace.
I found
you talked.
Right. I found you on MySpace somehow. I knew who you were because I've seen you in school plenty of times. And then I found your MySpace. I was like, oh, this is my shot. So I started messaging you on MySpace, but you turned me down every second.
It was actually AIM that you started messaging me on. I guess I had my screen name on my MySpace page. And you would IM me after school.
Yeah, I was kind of a stalker a little bit.
No, thank you. And then we went on a date when I was 19. And that didn't work out. We went on one date and then we didn't talk again really for 2 years. And then he started, and then he started trying to talk to me again, and I finally gave in and went on a date with you. It was a double date. I brought my girlfriend and he brought his guy friend. And then after that, we were pretty inseparable. I will give that to Mike. Mike is very persistent. Very persistent. How long before you think of having another baby? So like we mentioned before, we're currently in the process of hopefully adopting our second baby. And so if this all works out, this second baby and Josiah will be 18 months apart. So if we're talking about a third baby, I would think that we'd probably wait at least 2 years to start having that conversation. Just because the first two are so close in age, I feel we're gonna need a little bit of a break before we hit that kind of newborn stage again while we have, 2 toddlers. So if the toddlers are maybe on like the older end of being toddlers, it'll maybe be a little bit easier. If we've got at least one child that's a little bit more independent and self-sufficient, then it kind of makes it easier to kind of bring in a child that's like way, way more dependent. At least that's my thought process anyway. But again, you plan, God laughs, so we'll see. I feel like if we had merch for the channel, that's what it would say. Like, you plan, God laughs. The toll trap.
He does.
Does having a baby make you focus less on each other and more on the baby? I would definitely say that there are times where I feel like, I think you kind of go through seasons. There are times when you're like hyper focused on the child, like that's just, it is how it is, especially like in the very, very beginning. I would say like, when we first brought Josiah home, we were not like, we were not super focused on each other, but at the same time it was okay because we were in this very new like blissful state of like, oh my gosh, we have this baby and we are obsessed. And so like that, it didn't matter that we weren't like really nurturing our relationship because we were really distracted and both like just enamored with this child. And then, as parenting gets a little bit harder and you're tired and there's more going on and you realize like, we're not taking care of like you and I, then you kind of have to focus on that. And I definitely believe, as important as it is to raise kids, it's still important to really, really nurture your marriage, because if you don't do that, then that doesn't work out. And then, you're talking about the possibility of divorce. And, we're both children of divorced families. It can be really hard on kids of divorce. And so in order to avoid that, we have to maintain this. So I think you definitely go through seasons though, but I think it's really important to realize when you have a season where everything is hyper focused on your kids to remember to get back to your spouse.
I agree.
If you have all 4 kids, because we've talked about on here that we want 4 kids. That's our hopes and dreams. Do you think that it would cause stress in your relationship?
I think one kid causes stress in a relationship.
For sure. I know it's probably a lot harder to divide your attention between 4 children and then still find time to, be a good partner to your spouse at the end of the day. For sure. Like Mike said, one kid can be very stressful in your relationship if you're not really taking the time to, water the grass, and maintain that relationship. So as long as, like I said before, as long as you understand that there are going to be seasons where you're kind of going back and forth between what is priority, but you remember to always get back to your spouse after that kind of season.
I think as long as you have a good foundation and your relationship is strong, you'll be all right. 4 kids, 5 kids.
Have you ever had problems with parents or siblings that impacted your marriage? Families all have their own things going on, and sometimes in a marriage that can be foreign to the other partner because they're not, maybe it's just that their family doesn't do things like that, or it's just different, or it's just there's different nuances and stuff. But I would say there's never been anything that's been so big that it's caused marital, that's caused strain between us or any kind of marital issue. Do you have any advice on how to plan for a first baby? I feel like I need to buy so much stuff.
This is all you right here.
Planning for a first baby, as far as like the stuff that you're gonna need, I would say, invest in gear, especially if you plan on having more than one child. Invest in quality gear, because that's stuff that you can use down the road. Sometimes you're gonna get sticker shock from looking at the price of things, but if it's a good quality, car seat, stroller, like it'll last you 1, 2, beyond if you need it. So definitely invest in that stuff. I would say as far as the stuff goes, like, don't get super overwhelmed thinking that you need to buy a ton. Really think about your lifestyle and what's important to you. And then those are the things that you buy or put on your registry. A lot of the other stuff is just extras, and you very well might easily be able to live without it. It's just a matter of like what's going to be important to you, and again, what's important to you might not be important to the next mom, and so it really is situational and depends on you. So
every baby's different.
Every baby
requires
and that's the other thing. Things that are important to you that you think that you might want to have, like your baby might not like them. Every baby is different. So I would say Definitely check out, you know, Facebook Marketplace to see if there are things that you can get secondhand if you're trying to be cost conscious. Talk to, you know, relatives or friends that are moms, see if you can borrow things and then give back, because again, babies grow very quickly, and so they're only in that swing for the first couple of months and then they don't fit in it anymore, and so it might not make sense to you to spend, you know, all that money on a Mama-Roo or a fancy swing if your sister-in-law has one you can borrow. So just try to be kind of resourceful and think like that, because, you know, you don't always need all the new things, and definitely bring your baby home. Try to make it work with the things that you have, and then if you feel the need to bring in extra stuff, like, go for it from there. As far as like relationship maintenance before your first baby comes, just, you know, take advantage of all that free time. Go on dates, you know, stay up late having conversations, sleep in the mornings, like, just do all of those things together, because it does become harder to do them once your child comes. It doesn't become impossible, but it just becomes harder. So just make sure that when you have the time, while you're in that waiting period, you're taking advantage of it.
Yes.
How do you keep life spicy when raising a family?
Just keep things interesting.
I think you can kind of keep things interesting by, like, just being spontaneous. You know, planning things that you can really look forward to kind of help spice things up, like just a weekend getaway, or even, you know, dropping the kids off somewhere for, you know, a nice day date, you know, doing something that you don't normally do.
Just
like,
still make time for yourself. Those
new experiences really help kind of spice things up. And then just being spontaneous, like, you know, make time for, like, those little pockets of fun and romance and all the other things, you know, in the middle of life's monotony. Advice on supporting each other and getting through the adoption wait. It's so hard. The adoption wait can be very long and very grueling, and it's definitely tough.
Just have hope and faith, I guess.
I would say try to look for the bright side, and take this opportunity to really continue to connect with your partner and to nourish that relationship, because it all does change when your child will eventually join you, because they will. And just try to keep the faith. Try to keep the faith that it's going to happen, and, you know, it could just be a day away, and you just have to just keep pushing forward. Keep speaking that family into existence. You know, we did a lot of, you know, well, when the baby comes, like, even when we weren't matched,
right,
we just talk like that baby was coming any day now. When the baby comes, we're gonna do XYZ, and can you imagine next summer we might have the baby, and da-da-da-da. I'm like, just keep talking like that, and it just kind of brought the excitement in it, and it just made it feel like, you know, we didn't know when, but there was going to be an end to this waiting. There was an end date to the waiting, and it wasn't this infinite process, even though there are days when it feels like that. And so just try to keep the faith and keep speaking it out there, and it'll happen. I know it just feels never ending.
It feels like forever.
We answered everything, so that is a wrap on our relationship marriage Q&A. We hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, you can leave it a thumbs up. You can leave any questions or comments down below.
And don't forget to subscribe.
Don't forget to subscribe for more content from us in the future, and we will see you guys in the next one. Bye.
Bye.